Rayman is coming back in the near future, and I couldn't be more excited. Of course, we all have apprehensions based on Ubisoft's recent output of games being somewhat poor, let's say, but as a whole, the Rayman community is just happy to see the limbless hero coming back from the dead. But those concerns we all have are absolutely valid. Ubisoft have been releasing games recently that ship unfinished, buggy, or just riddled with monetization elements taking away from the game itself. Is that going to happen this time? Will Ubisoft ruin the integrity of Rayman, or will they actually get it right for once? Is the future of Rayman going to end as fast as it's begun? In this video, we're going to discuss three main things. What I think Ubisoft are currently doing with Rayman, what I think Ubisoft should be doing with Rayman, and what I want Ubisoft to do, or more accurately, what I would do and what I would like to see if I was franchise director and had full creative control. I've got big ideas, so stick around to see that. It's a bit ridiculous, but quite fun to talk about. I've mentioned what I'm about to say in previous videos, so if you do want a deeper explanation about this, please do go and check those videos out. But I think Ubisoft are currently working on 2 Rayman releases as we speak. Following the recent leaks and the statement from Ubisoft just a few days ago, I have a firm belief that a Rayman 3 remaster is in the works, in the same style as the Beyond Good and Evil remaster from earlier this year. There are leakers that say this is coming soon to the Switch and probably other consoles, as requested by Nintendo, so the Switch has new releases coming while they put all of their focus on the Switch's successor's launch lineup. That was a tough sentence to get out all in one go. In addition to this, Ubisoft are apparently working on a Splinter Cell Blacklist remaster and Driver 1 and 2 ports for the Switch. If they are working on these releases for Switch, they'll almost definitely end up on other consoles too. It'd be silly not to, really, even if they were asked to for the Switch in the first place. I mean, it's free money for them, really. Interestingly, the Splinter Cell Blacklist remaster actually supports my Rayman theory in a weird way. As we know, a Splinter Cell remake is in the works and has been for quite a while. It's anyone's guess how close this game is actually to completion. There are rumours of it being a bit troubled, so it could still be a while away, but it's been a long time coming, so I think it's probably sooner rather than later. Either way, how better to promote the upcoming game and get the franchise some media attention than to do a quick and cheap remaster of the most recent game? I think that's why they chose this one, and I think that's why they chose Rayman 3 as well. Well, among many other reasons, such as it being the most recognisable, it's the oldest game that wouldn't need major changes or revamps to fit the modern audiences, and it's just not as easily available as other entries. Anyway, I think this quick and easy remaster will help fund the next project, as well as get the guy in the public eye again in the build-up to Rayman 2. Remake. I've said it a lot in my recent videos, so I must sound like a broken record mentioning this damn Rayman 2 remake again. So very quickly, Insider Gaming leaked that some kind of Rayman remake is in the works at Ubisoft. This leak led Ubisoft to announce that Rayman is being explored, so that leak is pretty reliably accurate. We can basically say that that leak is true, even if Ubisoft only confirmed some of the details. Other leakers of the Rayman 3 remaster have said that this remake that's being mentioned by Insider Gaming is a different thing to the Rayman 3 remaster they're talking about. Origins and Legends are too modern to get remakes. Rayman 2 is just more popular and a far better game to bring back in terms of what modern audiences are looking for. Rayman 1 is great, but it's not a good move to hold the entire franchise's future on the performance of a Rayman 1 remake. So yeah, Rayman 2 remake. I think that following that, they'll drop Rayman 4, actually, finally. I think based on the performance of Rayman 3 remastered, they'll enter full development on Rayman 4 and use Rayman 2 to get everyone up to speed on the 3D iterations of Rayman before finally continuing it after over 20 years. I know this sounds like copium, but quite frankly, Ubisoft basically admitted to this. They're exploring the future of the franchise right now with a project in the early stages of development. While I do think that's a remake, the future of the brand, a sequel's coming at some point soon. I have more justification for some of the stuff I've just said in my other videos, and I don't want to take too much time of this video. I'm well aware I've already taken a fair few minutes. So yeah, that's what I believe they're doing. Rayman 3 in the next 6 months, Rayman 2 remake in the next 2 years maybe, Rayman 4 roughly a year after that. You want more information, check out the other videos, but for now, moving on. What do I think they should do? This is arguably the most important part of the video, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm no business wizard. I may have some project management skills in my repertoire, but in terms of managing a business or a franchise, I am talking out of my arse here. So I think, obviously, this isn't actual advice. This is just a fan saying what he thinks would be good. Okay. So yeah, with that, I think a good move for them would be pretty much what I think they're doing, actually. I think that a quick and easy Rayman 3 remaster is a very good move. I think this should really be a definitive edition though. If they do it right, it'll be a noticeable visual improvements, character models and animations really need to be enhanced here, much like the Beyond Good and Evil remaster. In fact, do it exactly like that. Huge graphical improvements, a bonus section with behind the scenes pictures and videos, details on cut content, maybe even a speedrun mode. The game had such a focus on score, so maybe score challenges, complete this level without collecting more than 10 gems or something like that. Little things just to reignite the fun of the game for those people that have played it 100 times over the last 20 years. I think a new game mode really is the best way to go, whatever it be. A reason to play the game again straight away in a different way. Any game mode I think would do, speed run, score based. I'll get into exactly what I would do a bit later on, but yeah, I think anything like this would work and would suffice. Really enhance the games, give the players a new fantastic experience, and returning players a reason to buy it again. All the bonuses in the game should also return, mini games, those wanna kick Rayman videos, restart the score tracking website they used to do, bring it all back properly as if Rayman 3 has just come out for the first time. Additionally, in this version, taking another tip from Beyond Good and Evil, add something small that relates to Rayman's future coming soon. Beyond Good and Evil had a treasure hunt mission that drip-fed details about Jade's past, something that was originally going to be explored in the prequel, if that ever happens or hasn't been completely changed. I think something like that would be really smart for Rayman 3. Nothing major, just a mini change to the world or the cutscenes that fans would notice and work out and appreciate. A nod to a future game coming. Again, exactly what I would do will be explained a little bit later in the video. Just something, I think. I think in terms of what they should do, just anything for now would be good. Following this, or actually maybe around the same time, I think they should drop Rayman 1 and both versions of Rayman 2 on PlayStation on the PS Plus catalogues, the PS1 version and the PS2 port. That won't be too hard since they're already on PS3 in the same vein, so it should be easy to port. I think it would be a quick and easy way to remind people that Rayman was awesome and that it's coming back. Additionally, they could port these versions to Xbox and Switch, maybe in a bundle. As much as I love physical games, I think a quick digital-only release of simple, untouched ports would probably be the best move. Make Rayman's history playable on modern hardware. This doesn't even need to be marketed too much, just make it so that if someone hears about Rayman or thinks about Rayman or just wants to revisit Rayman, they can. Additionally, a good move would be to port Rayman Origins to modern hardware. Legends is easily available already everywhere and runs on the same engine, so I'm sure a quick digital port of Origins would be piss easy to do. And it would enable all 5 mainline games to be playable on modern hardware if the rest of what I'm talking about happens. I'd also have this happen next year during Rayman's 30th anniversary. I think that would be an appropriate celebration, and again would synergize perfectly with promoting the fact that he's coming back and bringing him back into the public eye, getting him talked about. Following this, I think Rayman 2 getting a remake is a fantastic idea. I'm confident that this is what they are doing, but if I'd never heard or considered that they were, I would still say that this is the best move. I think Rayman 2 is a phenomenal game that would absolutely kill in this market with a slight modern touch. The game would sell well, very well. So a ground-up remake of Rayman 2 is just the best move all round, really. In terms of what they should remake, I think the Dreamcast version. I know a lot of people love the semi-open world Rayman Revolution remake expansion thing, but the linear Rayman 2 found in every other version is the most famous version. If they're remaking a game like this, it should be the way the game was intended to be made originally. I know this is a section about what they should do and not what they are doing, but I will just say that if they've got Michel Ancel as a consultant on this game, and they are remaking Rayman 2, then it won't be the PS2 port. Whether or not they should or shouldn't, I just want to remind you, it will be the Dreamcast one regardless, because that was his favourite, that's what he deemed the definitive edition, what he said his original vision was, and if he's a consultant, he will push for that. And quite frankly, I agree with him. I mean, it is the best version, in my opinion, by quite a long way as well. Anyway, getting this game out quick would be good, but they need to get it right, so don't rush it or release it unfinished. So getting that balance would be a little bit tricky, but I reckon they should enter full production right now if they haven't already. Get it started, get it ready as quick as possible. As part of the remake, they could also include some kind of behind the scenes details, like I suggested they do for the Rayman 3 remaster. I think 2026 is the best time to aim for, and realistically probably when we're going to see this. Earlier would be good, early 2026, but I think later is far more likely and would ensure the game is polished, finished, ready to go, and not a disappointment, because that's the last thing they can do right now. Pretty much what I think they're doing is exactly what I think they should be doing regarding Rayman 2, so I'm happy with this. Next, they should make a new entry. Well, no, not next. Right now. Alongside the Rayman 2 remake, they need to start developing Rayman 4, right now. Same team, different team, whatever, everyone working on it all at once. I think they should be building a new engine. or released a new framework within Unreal Engine 5 for the Rayman 2 remake, and used that for Rayman 4. It would cut down on development time of 4, and it would mean that the work done on the framework can be monetized at least twice. Financially, this would be a great move and almost guarantee profit. They can use the same Rayman design they make for Rayman 2, they can reuse assets like lums or textures or animations like when he jumps or attacks. You know, I'm not talking about a cheap reuse thing where it looks like DLC or anything. They'd have to change it up, you know, new moveset, new levels, new enemies and everything, but there's a hell of a lot they can reuse if they've already got the framework. If they don't have to start the game from scratch or rebuild an engine from scratch or anything like that, if they can start designing the levels, the characters and the moveset straight away and cut development time right down while also working on Rayman 2, it would mean Rayman 4 can come out within a year of Rayman 2's release, which really they need to do. If they're bringing him back into the public eye, they need to build that trajectory. Keep the attention for as much as they can early on, I think, would be the best move. So if they're not already, get Rayman 4 in production right now. I know it sounds dodgy commissioning Rayman 4 this early, especially funneling money into it, but if Ubisoft have any clue how popular Rayman is, they'll know this is a surefire hit. Think about Captain Laserhawk and how much of a stir that caused when Rayman showed up unexpectedly, or how quickly the board game got funded, 33 minutes and it hit its goal, or just how much everyone loved the Mario and Rabbids DLC with Rayman. He is popular, and they should know by now that Rayman 4 will be a financial success, especially if they can offset some of the production costs to Rayman 2, and then double their profits, because it'll be 2 games. So obviously the game would have to be new and different enough, but built in the same engine and framework for sure. This would be 1 year after Rayman 2 in my opinion, so following this I think Rayman 5 should be on the cards. I'm getting quite far into the future here obviously, but development times are long, so they need to be ready. I'd think if Rayman 3 Remastered sells well, while Rayman 2 Remake and Rayman 4 are deep into development, I would start pre-production on Rayman 5 and have that enter full development based on the sales of the Rayman 2 Remake. All these ports I mentioned earlier, they'll help fund this as well and inform just how big the budgets should be, you know. They can get an idea of just how successful Rayman is without even marketing him. In terms of the big things, I think that's it. If they do exactly that, they'll find success, I'm so sure of it. Not 10 million sales in 2 days or anything, but success nonetheless, as long as they don't do the usual Ubisoft thing and set stupidly unrealistic expectations. But if I were in charge, what would I do? Okay, strap in, because this is going to get a little bit ridiculous. If I were in charge, I would do exactly what I just explained, because that's what I think they should do, so it'd be weird if I did something different. But I would also do a lot more. I'd add a challenge mode to Rayman 3 Remastered. This mode has challenges for each level, and the whole game, in fact. I'm talking speed runs for the whole game and for each level, high score challenges, low score challenges, death modes where you die with one hit, all of this. Rayman 3 was always a game that inspired challenge, you know, getting the highest score possible from all the gems, racking up a combo. Lean into this. Heavily, that's what I would do. In terms of the teaser for the future, I can imagine this in my head perfectly. I'd have a mini cutscene added on early in the game. Well, extended cutscene, I suppose. When Murphy says, as Rayman and Glowbox jump into the portal, I would have them suddenly stop. The camera zooms slowly into the pair of them as they slowly turn around, looking down the barrel of the lens with a slight smirk on their faces before jumping into the portal and never mentioning it again. This tiny nod to that line would do 2 things. It would validate fans who've loved and hated that line for 20 years, but it would tell them it's happening. It would give them hope. It's a small thing that wouldn't require much work to add in, but it would be so funny and really satisfying after 21 years, as of right now, for that line to actually mean something. Anyway, next up, I'd actually not do the whole re-release on PS Plus thing. Well, I'd do it kind of. I'd drop Rayman 1 everywhere, like port that thing to anything that I can. Why not? It doesn't need any work, it's fun, it can be cheap, it's already been ported pretty much everywhere anyway, so it's hardly difficult to port places, otherwise they wouldn't keep doing it. I think just make Rayman 1 easily playable by everyone. Then, I would make a special Rayman 2 re-release. I would call it Rayman 2 Definitive Edition, or Rayman 2 The Great Escape Definitive Edition, whatever, and this new port would come out on everything, you know, Switch, Xbox, PlayStations, PC, whatever, and it would feature every single version of the game. Mostly, kind of. Okay, I'll explain. So, when you port up the game, you'd be given a choice of 4 playable Rayman 2s, the N64 game, the Dreamcast game, the PS1 port, and the PS2 port. As part of the N64 port, there'd be the original PC port included, with a setting just to swap between the two. The differences between these two were so minor that you could do this easily. The Dreamcast port would be fully intact with all the minigames and everything, and the PS1 and PS2 ports would be exactly as you found them 25 years ago. This would give players the choice, with the menu detailing all sorts of differences so you can pick the right version version for you when you first play, and it gives fans the chance to fully explore every version without remortgaging their houses. Additionally, I'd throw in a museum style thing that has information on the extra ports, you know, the iOS port, the DS and 3DS versions too. These are all a tiny bit different, so they're a cool thing to look at, but maybe not worth including as fully playable versions, you know? On top of all that, I'd throw the original Rayman 2 demo found at the end of the PS1 port into the main menu so it can be played whenever you want. This cool tidbit is loads of fun to explore, so it'd be nice to be able to jump in whenever. I think also if there's any leftover Rayman 2 stuff from the cancelled 2D prototype, throw it in here. It'd be really fun to look at. On top of this, the Xbox and PlayStation achievements and trophies would be a ton of fun for this game. To get them, you got to play every version, you got to collect everything, do all sorts of wacky stuff, find all the Easter eggs between the different versions. As a fan, I would adore a game like this so much. In terms of the Rayman 2 remake, I would absolutely still do that, but I would do it as like a Crash Bandicoot style remake. Basically 100% the same, but modern and built on a new engine. I would remake the Dreamcast version, as I mentioned earlier. There's not actually a lot else to say here, I would just make it good, you know, a real love letter to the original. I'd release this with a discount available to those who already own the Rayman 2 Definitive Edition, because I feel like that'd be a bit unfair. Make everyone pay for a remaster and then pay again for a remake, you know. I would have Rayman 4 and Rayman 5 in the works as well, as I think they should do anyway. Like I said, I would do exactly what I think they should do and more. In terms of what those games would be, they'd be 3D adventures like 2 and 3. I think the number one thing I'd push is that they all have their own identity. Built around Rayman 2 remake, sure, but 2 and 3 are so different in how they feel and play, so I would just make sure that Rayman 4 feels unique, Rayman 5 feels unique, even if it's the same game engine. Anyway, that's the main stuff. This is where it gets a bit weirder, a bit more fun, and the stuff I would personally want to be a bit more hands-on with if I was in charge. Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends I would bundle together and re-release fully intact as just the 2D pack thing, whatever you want to call it, and then I'd make a sequel. On top of the Rayman 4 and 5 sequels, I would make an Origins and Legends sequel. Treat it like two separate parallel franchises in a way. There's nothing really actually to add there, just like a sequel. These games are cheap to make and so ripe for creativity and fun that I'm sure it would be easy to do. A full-on sequel with fun levels and new bosses to fight would go down a treat. Maybe released between Rayman 2 Remake and 4. I think that would work. In addition to this, I'd remake Rayman 1 in the Legends engine. Maybe just as DLC, because it wouldn't warrant a full release, but it would just be really fun to play through the original levels of Rayman 1 with the faster paced gameplay style of Legends. It certainly wouldn't feel too samey, it would feel really unique, and it'd be quite fun to get creative and mess around with the Rayman 1 level design, but make it work for the Rayman Legends moveset, if that makes sense. I'd love to see this, honestly, it'd be such a great love letter. Next up, I would finish Rayman 4. No, not the Rayman 4 sequel that I want to start making. No, I mean the original Rayman 4. You know, the game with those stupid bunnies that never actually happened? Yeah, I'd find all the work that had been completed on the original Rayman 4 before it turned into the Rabbids we know and hate now. I'd reassemble the team who worked on it as best as I can, and I'd hire the fans who are currently working on the Reburrowed fan project. And then we'd finish Rayman Raving Rabbids, the way it was meant to be. This wouldn't serve as Rayman 4, like I'd call it Rayman Raving Rabbids Rewind or something, or Redo, but the kicker, I'd release it on Wii and PS2. I know it sounds silly, but if that were to happen quickly, you know, in the next year, let's say, the press it would get for being a random PS2 release in 2025 would shoot Rayman into the public consciousness. And what's more, it was nearly finished, so it's hardly going to be expensive to complete that game. Following this, I'd release it properly on modern consoles, but leave it as a Wii and PS2 game for maybe a year first. Next up, and finally, this video is dragging on a little bit, so I apologise about that, I would do a mega mix of all the handheld games. A lot of companies have been doing bundles with every NES game they made or whatever, so I'd bundle all the Game Boy, DS and 3DS entries in the Rayman franchise and put them all on one special edition. I'd even see if I could find the original phone games like Rayman Bowling or Rayman Golf. I'd make it so that basically everything is playable on modern hardware. I'd also throw Rayman Rush on the PS1 Classics catalogue and Rayman Arena, or M depending on where you live, on the PS2 Classics catalogue, just so that they're there. All the stuff before proper Rayman 4 would happen within the next 18 months, I think, if I were in charge and obviously was able to make this happen. This would bring Rayman not only to modern consoles easily, but it would mean that his name is constantly being thrown around that entire time, you know, something new every month pretty much. Everyone would be aware of him. He'd become Crash Bandicoot level in terms of being a franchise mascot, the way he should always have been. It would cement his future pretty solidly, I think. Obviously this is all way too much and would never actually happen, but if I was in charge and I could, I would absolutely do this. In a dream world, I would love for all this to happen. But that's all from me. That's obviously not happening. I do truly believe what I said earlier about what I think they're doing. And I do think that they should be doing that. I think that's a good move. I think it's a really appropriate way to bring Rayman back to the public eye and give him a good sequel. But that's all from me. Thanks for watching. This was a bit of a different video. I just wanted to talk about what I think Ubisoft should be doing, since we all know they are doing something, and I figured what better place to throw out my best case scenario ideas. Let me know yours. What do you want to see? If you had full control over the franchise, what would you do? How would you play it if you were Ubisoft right now? What do you think is the best move for them? Do you think my theory as to their plan is correct? If so, do you think it's a good move? Let me know. As always, stay awesome, stay purple, stay limbless, and I will see you in the next one.